just wanted to set up something that I think a lot of the tutorials get wrong, and that is not really explaining how houses determine where they're going to eat and the competition for that early enough in their teaching. They kind of start at the beginning of the manual and explain all the cards and things like that, but I found it helpful when I taught Lisa to show her how demand worked, and how restaurants satisfy that demand or not, and kind of compete for that, so that when you hear the rest of how this game plays out, you know where you're headed and what you're trying to achieve. So I just wanted to put this together quickly to show you that. So we have 3 restaurants here, and this isn't how it looks in the game, but I've set it up so that you can see the whole screen. So Santa Maria Pizza has some Coke and some lemonade. Gluttony Inc. Burgers has some lemonade, some beer, and some pizza. And Fried Geese and Donkey has a couple of burgers, a slice of pie, and or pizza, and a Coke. And you can see on the board, I've minimized it so there's no marketing going on to create that demand, which you need to do. That's the only way you get demand. But this is more about how the houses choose to eat somewhere. And so you can see some of the houses have different things on them. 2 has a lemonade and a pizza. 5 has a Coke and a pizza. 10 has a lemonade. 18, 13, and 15 each have a burger each. And that is their desire. They want that. And if they can't have all of that, they're not going to have any of it. And they need to get it at one place. Also, I should note 12 and 7 do not have any demand right now at all. Okay, so the first thing you do is in-house order. The first thing you do when you're determining demand is you go in-house order. So we'll start with 2. And we see that 2 wants a lemonade and a pizza. And so, yes, they have demand. If we were on 7, there's no demand there. We just move on to the next house. But 2 does want a couple things. So now the next thing you check is the house connected to a restaurant by a road? I should note that there's these little corner pieces on all of the restaurant tiles. That is your storefront. So in the example of Fried Geese and Donkey, the storefront is connected to this road, not this road. Right? So is the house connected to a restaurant? So 2 is connected to Santa Maria Pizza, and if we go zoop, 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 it's connected to Gluttony Inc. Burgers as well. It is not connected to Fried Geese and Donkey. Okay, there's no road that connects to that storefront. Okay, so it is connected to 2. We check that. Are there restaurants that can fulfill the demand? So we check both of those restaurants to see if they can fulfill the demand. Santa Maria Pizza has the lemonade but no pizza. Gluttony Inc. Burgers has a lemonade and a pizza. So yes, it can do that. So in this instance, we have 1 restaurant that can fulfill the demand. We're kind of done there, and we don't have to go into like how the competition works in that instance. So what would happen is both of those would come off. Pizza there. You've sold those, Gluttony Inc., so those go away for you. And then we move on to the next, Gluttony Inc. gets paid. And then we move on to the next house in sequence. So the next house in sequence is 5, which wants a Coke and a pizza. Is it connected to restaurants by a road? Yes, it is. The same 2. Can either of those restaurants fulfill the demand? No, because the pizza is gone from here. And I should mention that is must. So Gluttony Inc. had to fulfill the demand on number 2, and so now it cannot fulfill the demand on number 5. Now, Fried Geese and Donkey does have a Coke and pizza, but cannot get to the house here cannot get to Fried Geese and Donkey via road. Okay. So then we would go in sequence 5. The next one is 7, no demand. So we move on, etc., until we get to, I think the next one is 10. So now, same thing. Has a counter, yes. Connected to 2 restaurants, we know those 2. Can they fulfill the demand? Each of them has a lemonade to fulfill that demand. So who gets to do it? Well, the people here don't want to travel really far just for the same old lemonade, so they're going to go as close as possible, right? And the way you count that is via travel by road and how many tiles you must cross. So in this instance, Gluttony Inc. Burgers is 0 away because they're on this tile. Their storefront is on this tile. So it's 0 away from 10. So the base price of every good is 10. And when you're figuring out which restaurant wins the competition to fulfill the demand, you do the base price of 10 plus distance. So it'd be 10 plus 0. Santa Maria Pizza has 10 plus, and you travel by road to calculate this, plus 1, 2, so 12. And without any other modifiers in the mix, Gluttony Inc. Burgers wins that competition and sells the lemonade. So even though Santa Maria Pizza was really kind of close to all this action, they kind of lost out there because they weren't prepared for the demand on number 2, and so Gluttony Inc. really swooped in and got everything there. By the way, I should mention that because number 5 didn't have anyone that could fulfill the demand, that stays there. And so they will always want that until somebody can fulfill it. In fact, they might even accumulate more. And then, so it should be pretty straightforward here. When we get to, I think 13 is next, Fried Geese and Donkey has no competition for that burger because they're both, I'm sorry, they do have competition. They're both connected. All 3 are connected to number 13, but Fried Geese and Donkey is the only one that can fulfill that demand. So they would take that off, sell that burger, get paid. 18, they have no competition for 18 because nobody is connected to 7 or 18 except for Fried Geese and Donkey. So that's kind of how that works. Let me see here. Just to set up a little bit more competition-y, let me throw this here. And let me throw this here, and let me throw this here. Okay, so now if we're looking at number 5, both restaurants have a distance of 1 to number 5, and they can both fulfill that demand. So there's a tie. And in cases of ties, you'll look at whether or not a restaurant has a waitress in play. And because there's better service for a waitress, or whoever has the most waitresses, I should say, in play, wins that tie. If there's still a tie, like nobody has a waitress, for example, you go to turn order, whoever's first on the turn order track. Okay. So that's how demand works. There's other things that can kind of mess up the math of the 10 plus 1, and that is things like a pricing manager has price minus 1. So if you have a pricing manager in play, you do 10 +1, -1, and if Santa Maria Pizza doesn't have that, they're 10 +1, and even if they have a waitress in play, doesn't matter. We don't go there because it's not a tie. So you can start a pricing war that way, and you can put multiple pricing managers in play. There's higher ranked cards that jack the price down more. There's cards that jack the price up. So Fried Geese and Donkey has no competition here. They might start selling their goods for double the price because nobody's competing over here. So that's kind of how the system of selling food to people works, and that was super helpful to know going into the rest of learning this game. Peace.